Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Hello and welcome back to Business Casual. I'm Emma Henderson, Managing Editor of Aftermarket News. And my guest today is CEO of Hellwig Products, Melanie White. How are you doing?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Me too, and I'm very excited to dive into this topic. It's something that I think some people think about more than others, but everyone should be aware of. And in this case, it is being a female leader. And you have quite a bit of experience, so I am excited to see what insights you have today. I'm really curious. So obviously being a female leader is one thing. Getting to that role is one thing, but how do you define strong leadership? And how do you work to help bring women into this space?
That's a great question. So, I don't know that I think about strong leadership often. It's just a part of what I do, right? So I've had this great opportunity to get to a position within Hellwig. I'm fourth generation. My great grandfather started the business, and I knew I wanted to get into this position as CEO and carry on the legacy because I had this very clear idea no one else would do it as well as I could do it. And so I think that's really understanding your why and why you're moving forward is an important part of that strong leadership. You have to have that base because it's not easy. And I think over time, that's what I've learned is that it isn't easy. So if your why isn't really strong, then it's hard to show up in those ways. I also had this awesome opportunity to volunteer within SEMA. So I've been in the aftermarket for 20 years now and have volunteered within SEMA for 19 years. And I started early in my career volunteering within the light truck group. And there was an opportunity for me to have a leadership role within the truck group. I was one of, I want to say 12 people, and I was the only female in the room. And I was also really young at the time. And I just kept raising my hand. I kept saying yes to things. And so I had a lot of opportunity to show up in a leadership role there. I will have to put the caveat, I'm the oldest of four girls. So I am definitely kind of bossy to begin with, my sisters would say.
I am the oldest sister as well, so I would probably get similar feedback. So that's all good. Besides being the oldest of four sisters, so it sounds like you've been a leader your whole life. How would you say your leadership style has evolved from when you started with the company? And I believe you started in sales and marketing and obviously now have pivoted to the role of CEO.
It's changed quite a bit. So I've gone through a lot of different variations of leadership styles. When I first started, I was so less hands-on, and I've really swung the pendulum to the other side where I am so hands-on. I'm here often with my team. My team starts as early as 5:00 in the morning, and I'm here a lot of times with them at that early time. And I want to know what's going on. I want to know how we're taking care of our customers. I want to know what they need to be able to do a better job. I want to hear from them what they think we could be doing. So I'm a very hands-on leader, and I really have enjoyed that part. I would have a hard time backing off of that level of hands-on.
Definitely. And so with your role comes obviously some increased visibility. I am curious, what do you see as the power in visibility, especially as the aftermarket continues to grow and evolve? And I feel like when you go to large events like an Apex or a SEMA, you are more likely to see women than probably 20 years ago.
Yes, I'm so grateful. There are some key women who really have shown up for us, women who are currently within SEMA, because they've really laid that groundwork for us. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. And we are growing. There's this huge opportunity for women in the aftermarket that there's a lot of people who want to buy our products, that want to get involved. I want, if you are at all passionate about the aftermarket, about cars, it is not a scary place to be. And one of the things, you mentioned my sales and marketing background. Early in my career, I saw being female as somewhat of a hurdle. And what I realized putting my marketing hat on was I was actually different. And so that was a selling point, right? That was a point that was helpful for me because people would remember me. They would remember they ran into me at a show. They might not remember my name. And the other gentleman that would be with me, they wouldn't necessarily remember him because there was a lot of him. And so there's something that even just in that shift in thinking, that was really helpful to have that shift. The other part that also was my youth. So was kind of working against me. And youth is just, you don't have as much knowledge. And so how I combat that was really thinking and working a lot ahead of time to make sure that I was prepared for whatever situation I was going into because I knew that was against me. So I think that understanding what potential things are against you and how you could combat them are really key. And that has really helped me throughout my career.
I really like that mindset shift of seeing what's different about you as an asset. I think that really does put everything into perspective and almost reshape how you can take every situation that you have to handle. And that is important for women who are currently trying to climb the ranks and grow in leadership. I'm curious what your advice would be for them. What if, someone's been in the industry for like 5-6 years now, they've realized this is definitely their passion, they want to stay, but they aren't sure how to keep that career growth going consistently. What would your advice be for them?
Yeah, so I think for that, understanding where you want to go is the big thing and what that path would potentially look like. Being flexible to get experience in what shows up. I think early in my career, I had a lot of opportunities and I would say yes to so many opportunities, and especially if it made me nervous. If it made me nervous, I knew that was something that I needed to do because it was a growth edge. So I would really encourage women, individuals, anyone to look at, am I too comfortable in certain positions? Should I take this opportunity to have a speaking engagement, to present something to an organization, whatever it is, really understanding that growth edge you're gonna find that growth edge by following through on that.
Absolutely. Someone once told me that growth happens in places of discomfort. And that has always stuck with me because it's like, oh, I'm not growing as much if I'm not actually reaching out further than I normally would. And that, that really helps put things into perspective. And you are definitely doing that because you just took over as SEMA Chair. So I'd love to talk about that a little bit. To start with, we're literally just curious. What can we expect from you in the coming year? What are you hoping to do?
The SEMA organization overall just is something that I love, and we're doing so many great things. And I love to say we because I serve on the board and as the chair. And it's really SEMA staff. There's great people who love this industry who are working really hard for us. And there have been some big wins for us over the last year, 2 years. And I'll be in this term for 2 years. And there's a few areas that even when I started on the SEMA board of directors 6 years ago, they were priorities for me. And that is government advocacy. That is going to be the biggest thing. And it's why SEMA started in the beginning, was that there were government regulations coming in and affecting businesses, and we needed to combat that. So we came together as a group. That's how SEMA started. And we're under pressure more than we've been in a long time, and that pressure isn't letting off. And so government advocacy is a key. I also will youth engagement. I have a 15-year-old. I want this industry to be healthy for the future. And part of that is getting them interested. So I really want to see us focused on marketing to youth. And then I also, vehicle technology is a big thing. There's ever changing technology within vehicles. And so SEMA has this ability to bring groups together to make sure that, we have the resources available to work through some of the new technologies coming through.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcox Media.
Yeah, and you touched on this a little bit, but do you want to dive deeper on any particular project or things that you're excited about? It sounds like the youth programming is really important, especially as we look at, the technician shortage and the number of people we need to keep this industry growing and succeeding as people are, deciding to retire.
Yes, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And, I'm thinking about it a lot because I have a 15-year-old and I have friends who have kids around that same age. And some of them don't want to go to college. And we're looking at colleges now and they're very pricey. And if you don't have this like really clear definition of what you want to do, it might not make sense. And so trade really is becoming a more attractive option, and it hasn't been talked about it a lot. So I think there's that aspect is it just needs more attention. It doesn't necessarily, we don't need to do anything crazy, anything different. We just need to talk about it more. We need to let kids know that that is a real avenue and that it is a real avenue where you can make a good living doing that. And if it aligns also with your hobby, I think that's the greatest part about this industry is a lot of it is aligning with hobbies. And how great is that you can merge the two of them?
Exactly. And if you want an office that's not a cubicle and you want different things happening every day, you never know what's going to come into the shop, you never know what kind of vehicles you might see. I mean, this is the industry for you. The other thing we do on this podcast is we like to give people a moment to reflect and look back on what keeps them here. Clearly, you're very passionate, you're very involved both at your company and outside of your company, but we call it the aftermarket 3. So these are 3 things, whether it's a mentor or an event or even just like a moment in time where you realized what keeps you around the automotive aftermarket.
Hands down, it's the people. I mean, the people are the biggest thing in the automotive aftermarket. So last week was at an event and we had all of the councils and networks within SEMA together, as well as the board of directors, and we had a gala. And it's the people. It's what I fell in love with in the beginning. I was going to go down a whole different career path and ended up in the automotive aftermarket. And I've had amazing mentors. One of them, George Lathoris, who just became inducted into the SEMA Hall of Fame. Ann Johnson and I, she was my mentor within SEMA and really was just amazing. Her mentorship was just, it set my whole career trajectory on a certain path. And there's so many others that I'm not naming now. And even Mike Spagnola, who's currently the the president of SEMA, he and I knew each other 19 years ago when I started volunteering. He was in a whole different company, a SEMA member company, and served on the SEMA board of directors. So I think that really has helped me. Just the people are what keep me here, and the people are what got me hooked in the beginning. And I think that's going to continue to be that way. And I think it's because everyone's so passionate and it's a passion-led industry. It's really easy to do that. Sometimes I have to pinch myself for the things that I get to do within this industry. I've gone overseas to represent Hellwig. I've been in Abu Dhabi and Australia. And so those are really cool experiences to be able to look back in my career and think about some really amazing places that I've been able to go to be able to represent Hellwig, but also with SEMA too.
I do think that is incredibly special about this industry. One of the things I love about being a journalist and covering the aftermarket is I get to ask people questions about the topics that they're most passionate about. And you can tell when they love what they're telling you about because their eyes light up, they get all excited, maybe they'll inch a little closer to you, and then they just tell you the most incredible stories of either things that they've accomplished or things that they're working toward. And it really does make you realize this is a group of excited people who want to make a difference.
Definitely.
Well, Melanie, I am so thankful that you were able to take time for us today. I know you have an incredibly busy schedule. You were literally just named acting chair for SEMA, so I'm sure you have a lot that you could be doing right now. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show, and thank you to everyone else for watching.